There is something that lurks in plain sight, something you may have felt but could never quite explain, something that unsettled you in the presence of a particular person, a colleague, a friend, a lover, a nagging feeling, a whisper at the edge of your thoughts, telling you that something is wrong, but you pushed it away, you rationalized it, you told yourself you were imagining things. That is how they survive, that is how they thrive. Not with horns, not with snarling teeth or blood-stained hands, but with charm, with patience, with deception so flawless that by the time you recognize the trap, you are already caught in the web. Evil does not always announce itself. It does not come crashing through your door with wild eyes and a raised blade. No, true evil moves softly, speaks gently, weaves itself into your life so seamlessly that you do not notice its presence until it is too late. It does not strike, it erodes, piece by piece, day by day, until the person you once were is nothing but a faded memory, lost beneath the weight of doubt, confusion, and quiet destruction. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt nothing? Not warmth, not kindness, not even hatred, just an empty void where something human should be? Have you ever spoken with someone who made you feel inexplicably small, unsure of yourself, questioning things you once knew to be true? Have you ever been trapped in a conversation that left you drained, uncertain, as if something unseen had been taken from you? If so, you may have already encountered one of them. They are not always criminals, they are not always monsters in the stories told to frighten children. Sometimes they are the ones who smile the most, the ones who seem too perfect, too composed, too in control. They are the friend who always has an excuse, the lover who turns your own words against you, the mentor who builds you up only to cut you down. They are the ones who do not just lie, but rewrite reality, who do not just manipulate, but reshape the very way you see the world. And they're always watching, studying, waiting for the moment you let your guard down. But you are not defenseless. Because the truth, the real truth, is that they are not as invisible as they think. They leave signs, patterns, cracks in the carefully constructed illusion. And if you know what to look for, if you are willing to see what is hiding in plain sight, you can recognize them before they sink their claws into you. 6 red flags, 6 warnings, 6 undeniable signs that the person next to you is not who they pretend to be. Listen closely, because this knowledge could save you, or, if ignored, it could be the very thing that destroys you. They are masters of deception, artists of illusion, and architects of a world that exists only to serve their purpose. Their charm is not accidental, nor is their kindness genuine. Every smile is a calculated movement, every word a carefully measured drop of honey designed to lull you into a sense of comfort. They do not operate like ordinary people who stumble, fumble, and make mistakes in their interactions. No, these individuals refine their deception to an art form, a skill sharpened over years of practice. At first, they seem like the kindest person you've ever met. They listen attentively, their eyes locked onto yours, as if you are the most fascinating thing in the world. They nod at just the right moments, laugh at the perfect time, and say exactly what you need to hear. You feel seen, understood, perhaps for the first time in a long time. They have a way of making you feel important, as if fate itself orchestrated your meeting. But fate had nothing to do with it. They study people the way a hunter studies its prey. They observe your movements, your expressions, your vulnerabilities. They note what excites you, what wounds you, what softens your defenses. And once they have gathered enough, they begin their game. They mirror your desires, reflect your dreams, and mold themselves into the person they believe you need. If you seek companionship, they will be the most devoted friend. If you crave love, they will be your perfect partner. If you long for guidance, they will play the wise mentor. They slip into the role so seamlessly that you never suspect it was an act. But behind the mask, there is nothing. No real attachment, no true affection, only strategy. Their kindness is a lure, and you are meant to bite. They will tell you exactly what you want to hear, make promises they never intend to keep, and create a bond so intoxicating that you feel grateful to have them in your life. And then, when the time is right, they will begin to shift. Perhaps it starts small, a subtle manipulation here, an emotional pull there. They test your limits, seeing how much control they can exert before you push back. A harmless white lie, a moment of gaslighting, a gentle dismissal of your concerns. You question yourself rather than them. After all, they've been so kind, so understanding. Surely they didn't mean to hurt you. And that is where they thrive. Every move they make is designed to keep you in their grasp. If you start to pull away, they will revert to their charm, showering you with attention and affection to remind you of the person they pretended to be. And just when you begin to trust again, they will tighten their hold, reminding you that you are exactly where they want you. Because deception is not just their skill, it is their nature. Look into their eyes, not just in passing, not just when they are performing for an audience, but in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. Do you see warmth, depth, or the flicker of genuine emotion? Or do you see something else? Something hollow, something empty? That emptiness is the absence of what makes a person human. It is the void where empathy should be, where compassion should take root, where the ability to truly feel for another should reside. But in them there is nothing. They have learned over time that emotions are a currency, and they have mastered the art of counterfeiting them. They know when to smile, when to frown, when to furrow their brow in feigned concern. They know how to make their voice tremble at the right moments, how to squeeze out a tear if necessary, how to craft the illusion of sincerity so flawlessly that you might believe they care. But watch them when they think no one is looking. Watch them when the mask slips for just a fraction of a second. You will see the truth, the cold, vacant abyss. Where humanity should be is not that they do not understand emotions. They understand them too well. They study them, analyze them, dissect them like a scientist examining a specimen. But they do not feel them the way you do. They do not experience the gut-wrenching sorrow of seeing someone they love in pain. They do not know the quiet joy of selfless kindness, of giving without expecting anything in return. They do not understand remorse, not truly. When they apologize, it is not because they feel guilt, but because the situation demands it. When they say, "I'm sorry," what they really mean is, "I need you to stop being upset so I can regain control." You might catch them in moments where their reactions feel off, where something about their response seems mechanical rather than instinctive. A normal person rushes to comfort a grieving friend, their sadness reflecting in their own eyes. But these people hesitate, their reaction delayed as they calculate the appropriate response. They mimic what is expected, but it never quite fits. Their words feel rehearsed, their concerns slightly too polished, their timing just a second too slow. And when tragedy strikes someone they claim to care about, watch their eyes. True grief is not just about tears. It is about depth, weight, an ache that lingers even in silence. But their sorrow is a performance, a careful arrangement of expressions and gestures meant to convince the world that they do feel. And yet, in moments where they should care, when empathy should be instinctive and raw, there is nothing but cold indifference. They do not grieve for the suffering of others. They merely acknowledge it as an inconvenience, a necessary scene in the grand play they orchestrate. And when the lights go out, when the performance is over, they return to what they have always been, empty. They do not lie like ordinary people. They do not stumble through falsehoods, fumbling for excuses or backtracking when caught. No, for them, lying is as natural as breathing. It is effortless, instinctive, woven so seamlessly into their existence that truth itself becomes irrelevant. They do not see reality as something fixed, something absolute. Instead, they see it as something to be shaped, twisted, rewritten at will. Their words are not meant to inform but to manipulate, not to reveal but to obscure. At first their lies may seem small, insignificant, A detail changed here, a fact distorted there. You may even overlook it, chalking it up to a simple mistake, a lapse in memory. But pay attention. The inconsistencies will begin to pile up. The stories will shift in subtle but unmistakable ways. And before long, you will realize that nothing they say can be trusted. What they told you yesterday may not be what they tell you tomorrow. They reinvent themselves constantly, adapting their narratives to suit the moment, to keep control, to keep you from ever seeing the full picture. And when you catch them, because you will catch them, they will not react like an honest person would. There will be no embarrassment, no stammering, no true admission of guilt. Instead, they will smile, they will laugh, they will act as if you are the one being ridiculous. "You must have misunderstood," they will say. "That's not what I meant." They will twist the conversation until you begin to doubt yourself, until you wonder if you really did misremember, if perhaps the fault is yours. And if you persist, if you refuse to let it go, they will turn the lie into something else entirely. A joke, an exaggeration, a harmless miscommunication blown out of proportion. Anything to avoid admitting the truth. But the lies do not stop at words. They extend into their actions, into the very way they present themselves to the world. Their entire existence is a carefully crafted illusion, a performance meant to control how others perceive them. They will say one thing and do another, promise loyalty while betraying you behind closed doors. Pretend to be someone they are not if it serves their purpose. And if ever they are exposed, if ever the facade cracks and the truth begins to seep through, they will reinvent themselves once again, shedding one identity and slipping effortlessly into another. They do not feel guilt. They do not feel shame. A normal person lies and carries the weight of it, the gnawing discomfort of knowing they have deceived. But these individuals feel nothing. To them, a lie is not a burden, but a tool, a means to an end, a necessary piece in the game they play. And because of this, they do not fear being caught. They do not worry about the consequences of their deceit, because they know that when the time comes, they will simply weave another story, spin another web, and the truth, whatever it once was, will disappear. There is something unsettling about the way they watch suffering, something just beneath the surface, something they try to hide but cannot fully suppress. It is a flicker in their expression, a slight upward twitch of the lips, a gleam in the eyes that betrays what they truly feel. To most, pain is an unfortunate reality, something to be avoided, something that stirs discomfort or sympathy. But to them, pain, especially the pain of others, is a source of quiet satisfaction. A moment of power, a thrill. They do not always reveal it outright. They know better than to make their pleasure obvious. Instead, they observe from the shadows, pretending to share in the collective sorrow, nodding at the right moments, offering empty words of comfort. But if you look closely, if you pay attention when they think no one is watching, you will see it. The amusement in their eyes when someone stumbles. The satisfaction in their voice when they recount a moment of someone else's failure. The casual way they discuss tragedy, as if it is nothing more than entertainment. They do not always cause the pain themselves, at least not directly. Sometimes they simply bask in it, like a spectator enjoying a show. They relish drama, fuel conflicts, subtly nudge situations toward disaster just to watch it unfold. They might whisper a few well-placed words to ignite doubt between friends, set two people against each other and sit back as the destruction plays out. And when it does, when tempers flare and relationships crumble, they will stand there, composed, unaffected, as if they had no hand in it. Perhaps they will even act as the peacemaker, the rational one, the person who is simply above it all. But make no mistake, they do not just enjoy watching pain, they also create it. Sometimes it is blatant, an explosion of cruelty delivered with sharp words or calculated malice, but more often it is subtle, a veiled insult, a passive-aggressive remark, a backhanded compliment meant to chip away at someone's confidence piece by piece. They strike where it hurts the most, identifying vulnerabilities with eerie precision, pressing just hard enough to cause damage, but not so hard that they reveal their true nature. And if you dare to confront them, if you suggest that they take pleasure in harm, they will laugh. They will dismiss it as a misunderstanding, tell you that you are being too sensitive, too dramatic. They will insist that they meant nothing by it, that it was a joke, that you are overreacting. And yet, the pattern will continue. Again and again they will be there when pain arises, watching, waiting, feeding off the turmoil they either instigated or encouraged. There is no warmth in them, no true remorse, no hesitation when the opportunity to hurt presents itself. They do not view suffering as something to be mended, but as something to be savored. And no matter how well they disguise it, no matter how much they pretend to care, the truth will always reveal itself in their eyes, if only for a moment. Nothing is ever their fault. No matter how clear the evidence, no matter how undeniable the truth, they will always find a way to shift the blame onto someone else. It is not a question of misunderstanding or differing perspectives. It is a deliberate strategy, a skill honed over time to ensure that they never have to face consequences. They cannot afford to be wrong. Admitting fault, even in the smallest of matters, would shatter the illusion they have so carefully built. At first, their excuses seem reasonable, logical even. The mistake was not theirs. It was due to circumstances beyond their control. Someone gave them bad information. Someone misunderstood their intentions. Someone reacted poorly to what was meant to be harmless. They frame it in a way that makes their innocence seem obvious, and if you are not paying attention, you might even agree. After all, mistakes happen, but watch closely and you begin to notice the pattern. There is always an external cause, always someone else to take the fall. If they miss a deadline, it was because someone distracted them. If they hurt someone's feelings, it was because that person was too sensitive. If they are caught in a lie, it was because they were forced into it. And if things in their life are falling apart, it is never due to their choices, their actions, or their character. It is always the fault of an unfair world, of jealous people, of bad luck. Even when the truth is undeniable, even when they are cornered with irrefutable proof, they will not break. Instead, they will turn the tables. They will accuse you of overanalyzing, of twisting things, of trying to trap them. And if that does not work, they will shift into victim mode. Suddenly, they are the ones who have been wronged. The confrontation becomes an attack, your frustration becomes cruelty, and their mistakes transform into a burden they have been unfairly forced to carry. This is not just about avoiding responsibility, it is about control. By refusing to accept fault, they manipulate reality itself, warping the narrative so that they are always in the right. If you push back, if you insist on accountability, they will not respond with self-reflection, but with anger, defensiveness, or even silent withdrawal. They will make you regret ever questioning them, punishing you in subtle ways, perhaps with guilt, perhaps with coldness. And in time, if you are not careful, you may start to accept their version of events. You may find yourself apologizing for things that were never your fault, trying to mend a situation that they created, carrying the guilt that should never have been yours to bear, because that is their goal. Not just to avoid blame, but to place it on you, to make sure that no matter what happens, they remain untouchable. And no matter how much destruction they cause, they will always emerge with their hands clean. You feel it before you understand it, a weight, an unease, a sensation that something is not quite right when they are near. It is not something obvious, not something you can easily explain, but it lingers like a shadow, just beyond your reach. You may try to dismiss it at first, telling yourself that you are being paranoid, that you are imagining things. After all, they seem so charming, so confident, so in control. And yet, despite their perfect words and carefully crafted persona, the feeling remains. A quiet whisper warning you that something about them is unnatural. They have a presence that unsettles, a way of being that makes the air feel heavier when they enter a room. It is not always in what they say, but in how they exist, in the way their eyes lock onto you for just a second too long, the way their smiles never quite reach their eyes, the way they seem to study people rather than truly engage with them. You catch them watching, not in the way someone watches a friend or loved one, but in the way a predator watches prey, calculating, patient. You notice how people around them change, how the mood of a room shifts when they are present. There is tension in the air, an unspoken pressure that forces people to adjust their behavior, to choose their words more carefully. People laugh, but the laughter feels strained. Conversations flow, but they lack warmth. Those who spend too much time with them begin to doubt themselves, to second-guess their instincts, to question what they once knew to be true. And then there are the coincidences, the strange patterns that seem to follow them wherever they go. Relationships fall apart, trust erodes. People who were once strong-willed become shadows of themselves, drained, exhausted, unsure of why they feel so empty. And yet through it all, they remain untouched. They never seem affected by the chaos that surrounds them, as if they are merely an observer rather than the common thread in the destruction. They have a way of making you feel small without ever saying anything overtly cruel. Their words are smooth, carefully chosen, laced with just enough subtlety to make you wonder if you are imagining the slight. You leave conversations feeling off balance, as if something was taken from you, though you cannot quite put your finger on what. They have a gift for making you doubt your own perception, for making you question whether the discomfort you feel is real or simply in your head. And that is their greatest weapon, because long before you realize what they are, long before you see the truth of what they are capable of, you will feel it. That uneasy, creeping sense that something is wrong, that voice in the back of your mind telling you to be careful, to keep your distance, to run. But they count on your hesitation, on your willingness to dismiss your instincts in favor of reason. They count on the fact that you, like so many others before you, will ignore the warning signs until it is too late. Because the feeling is not a coincidence. It is not paranoia. It is not imagination. It is your survival instinct recognizing what your mind has not yet fully grasped. It is the quiet alarm sounding in the depths of your being, trying desperately to warn you that the person standing next to you is not what they pretend to be. And if you ignore it, if you push it aside in favor of logic, you may one day find yourself looking back and wishing you had listened. They walk among us, wearing the faces of friends, lovers, mentors, and allies. They speak with eloquence, disguise their intentions with charm, and weave illusions so convincing that even the sharpest minds can be deceived. But beneath the surface, behind the mask, lies something far colder, an absence of empathy, a hunger for control, a quiet satisfaction in the suffering of others. They manipulate, deceive, and destroy, all while ensuring that their hands remain clean, their image untarnished. But the truth is always there, waiting to be seen. It lingers in the inconsistencies of their stories, in the hollow depths of their eyes, in the unease that settles into your bones when they are near. It is in the way they refuse accountability, in the way they feed off pain, in the way they make you doubt what you once knew to be true. And the greatest mistake you can make is ignoring that truth, convincing yourself that the warnings are just in your head. Evil does not always announce itself with a snarl or a scream. Sometimes it arrives with a whisper, a smile, a gentle hand on your shoulder. It disguises itself in kindness, cloaks itself in charm, and moves unnoticed in the shadows. But if you pay attention, if you trust what you see, what you feel, you will know. And when you do, the choice will be yours, to stay and be consumed, or to walk away before the darkness pulls you under. Good luck, and trust yourself. The world is full of masks, but if you look closely, you'll always find the cracks. Thank you.